Hi everyone, and welcome to the broadcast for today. My name is Natalie Ledwell, and for those people who are joining in the broadcast today who may not have met me before or seen one of these broadcasts, I am the co-founder of the personal growth company called Mind Movies, and I'm the best-selling author of a book called Never in Your Wildest Dreams. Now I do these broadcasts a couple of times a week to give you some tips and some tools and hints and some advice and inspiration that you can implement into your life and make a difference. So today, my topic that I'm talking about is how to let go of fear and shame. And the funny thing is that sometimes we don't realize how fear and shame are actually showing up in our lives. So today I want to highlight some of those ways that are fairly common for most of us that we may not be aware of, and then a 4-step process on how to release those. So if you are watching like Maggie Gackagan is and Liz Batten, hello ladies, make sure that you say hello and let me know where you're from so I can give you a little cheerio and acknowledge you and say hi. Stacey Harvey, good to see you here as well. And Maggie, yes, is coming in from Scotland, like Maggie Gackagan. I mean, that's about as Scottish a name you can get. So so great to see you here. Renata Schroeder is from New Zealand. Hi, Renata, how are you? Terry Collier, good to see you here again, darling. Always great to see the regulars coming back. Taylor Stevens, good to see you here as well, darling. So yeah, like I said, today we're going to be talking about fear and shame and how to let them go. Good to see you. Taylor's from Texas, Dallas, Texas, to be precise. Excellent. Rosemary, good to see you here as well. And Liz Batten's from Wyoming. That's so cool. Right. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like we have this fear and shame in our lives, and we don't often realize that it's showing up. It's sometimes like those limiting beliefs that we have, and we don't realize that the thoughts that we're having are really holding us back. Well, fear and shame do manifest in so many different ways, and because these situations can be so normal to us and so regular to us that we don't actually realize that it's fear and shame that is showing up. So what we want to do today is really have a look at some of the reasons or some of the ways that fear and shame do show up, and then really talk about how we can release that. So let me just say a couple more hellos. Oh, I've got Ma Tumalin from Mexico City. Hi. I've got Benson from Kenya, I think. My goodness. Norma from Brooklyn. Hey, in the house. William McKay is from Gran Canaria. I think that's Spain. Good to see you here. And Katrin is quite difficult for Estonian to speak up. So hi. So great to see you here, Katrin. It's so wonderful. And I love to see how people are beaming in from all over the world. Don't you just love technology? All right, so why don't we start first of all with some of the ways that fear and shame show up in our lives that you may not be aware of. Now, the first one is one that I struggled with all through my 30s. And by feeling this shame, and I didn't see the shame as first because I was blaming a whole bunch of other stuff outside of me, so I didn't really see it for what it was. It actually kept me in this situation, and this was how I was struggling with my body. And so I was not happy with the way I looked. I was not happy. I was carrying extra weight than I did in my 20s. I started to form all these stories about myself. I started judging myself. I started judging other women in my head. And all of this cycle of negative thoughts was just keeping me in shame about my body. And I'll be totally honest with you, that showed up in every other part of my life. I started to lose confidence with who I was and how I showed up in my work. It started to affect my marriage, and how, because, it's difficult for you to come from a place of love and to be confident and sexy and everything that you want to be as a wife or a partner when you're not feeling good about your body. So it definitely manifested that is that as well. Now, if you can relate to that, and I'm sure there are some people that are watching today that probably can. Don't worry, at the end of the show today or at the end of the broadcast, I've got something a little special for you. So make sure you stay all the way to the end. So body shaming, and like I said, I blamed everything. I don't know why I can't lose weight. I'm doing everything right. Yeah, right. And it was big. And honestly, my thoughts were keeping me in that situation. So that was something that really happened. Another way that shame and fear show up is like in procrastination. That's often a symptom for me of a deeper limiting belief, and what tries to keep us where we are. So when we procrastinate, when we know we should be doing something else, we have shame around it, and so it keeps us in that place where we're stuck. Okay, so that's not a good one either. And the other thing is when we're not doing what we know we're supposed to. Okay, so, and this derives from fear. So we're not exercising like we should. We're not writing in our journals like we should. We're not doing our gratitude journals like we should. We're not eating right or drinking right or doing any of those things. All the things that we go, we're going to do this, like I'm going to start journaling. I'm going to start watching my mind movie every day, whatever that is, but we don't do it. I think it's fear that's holding us back, but then that manifests into shame because we're upset with ourselves that we couldn't do it. And we're like, why can't we, And if you're also relating to that kind of a thing as well, I've got the 4-step process coming up that's going to show you how to release that. So stay tuned. Okay, so what else have we got? All right, things like we don't call our loved ones as often as we should. And so we surround that with shame. We fear the unknown. That's a big one. One of the most important parts of being able to manifest what we want in our life is the ability to be able to surrender and let go, trusting that as long as we're doing, visualizing, seeing where we need to go, taking the action, moving forward, that things will turn out all right for us. Trusting that the universe or God has our back is really important. But when we fear the unknown, it keeps us in our little comfort zone. I remember nothing good happens in our comfort zone. It's a bit boring in the comfort zone. Okay, so before I say the rest of those, let me say a couple more hellos. Denise, hello Denise. Shilkat Usman, hi, how are you? Cheryl Commodore, hi Cheryl. So coming all the way from London. Good to see you here, darling. Stephanie Ramsey, hello to you, and Michelle McIntyre from Australia. Hey, how are you, Michelle? I know it's Saturday morning there, so you're up nice and early. Good to see you here. All right, well, some of the other ways. Let me just quickly go through those so that I can, so that I can actually go through and give you the 4-step releasing process. Let's see. Oh, yeah, things like, any fear that we feel, like fear of flying, fear of giving a speech, fear of spiders, fear of, whatever that is. A lot of the times when we're in that fear and it immobilizes us, it keeps us where we are. So it stops us from doing what we know we should or taking those steps that we need to take to be able to go into the next level of our life. I was just listening to a podcast earlier today with Ariana Huffington, and she was interviewing DJ Khalid, and he was talking about his fear of flying. And how he overcome that. Now he has a son, and he was talking about how he's overcome that fear of flying. And now he flies all the time. But he left millions of dollars on the table because he would always bus everywhere because of that fear. So that's something that we need to address. That's something that shows up pretty commonly, but it's something that we all see. Another thing is that when we're given the universe or God gives us this golden opportunity, and hands it to us, and we given this, this deal or this new project or this new job, or and then out of fear we choose not to take it. Or for me, like with the children's program that I talk about often, when I was first given it, it scared the hell out of me. I'm like, I'm not qualified. I don't know how to do this. But then I remembered that when I surrendered and let go and went, okay, well, I was given this for a reason. Even though from the outside looking in, it doesn't look like I should be doing this, there's a reason that's been given to me. And so I've taken, action towards that. So make sure that, if you shrink away from tasks, this is fear that's showing up for you. And then the last thing is just, when you're feeling stress or fear around anything event, any parties, any upcoming trips, any meetings, anything like that, we want to shrink away from doing those projects, but it's keeping us playing small. And so what do we need to do to overcome or to release this fear and this shame? So the first thing we need to do is to become the observer. So what do I mean by that? I mean that we need to step outside of ourselves for a little bit. And then, so stepping outside ourselves means emotionally detaching from the situation. Fear and shame are very emotional situations, are very emotional emotions, I should say. They're very intense emotions. And so we need to step outside of that, because while we're feeling those emotions, we stay there. We stay in that lower vibration. So for a moment, just, remove yourself from the situation and step out of yourself and then observe the situation for what it is without emotion. So the first thing you want to do is just acknowledge it. Notice what it is. Okay. You notice that, okay, I've got this, fear of speaking. All right. So, and all you're doing is calling it for what it is without having the emotional attachment. Okay, I didn't call my mum when I thought I was going to yesterday, or when I said I was going to. Okay, so this is acknowledging it, verbalizing it, seeing it for what it is. So that's the first step. The second step we want to do is then become curious. Second step is to really get curious about why you did that, or what was underneath that action. Where is that coming from? Now, the only way that we can get underneath that and really figure out where that's coming from is to really spend some quiet time asking the questions, and then staying quiet long enough to be able to hear the answers. So you want to think about, okay, so I've got a fear of speaking. Okay, what is that fear? Where has it come from? And often if we go back in our lives, we can remember an incident where maybe we stood up in class and other kids laughed at us and we felt so ashamed or so embarrassed that we thought, I'm never going to do that again. So often you can go underneath it and go, okay, well, this is where it's coming from. So this emotion is really my 5-year-old's emotion. It's not mine. It's my 5-year-old's. Or you could look at different situations that come up in your life that go, okay, this is why I have this fear. So get curious about that. And then the next step, so that's step 2. Step 3 is then to release your attachment to it. So now you've called it out for what it is. You've got curious. You've figured out where it's come from. But now that you know where it's come from, you go, okay, I can release that now, because that's my 5-year-old version. That's my 5-year-old emotion. That's, it's often when we do anything in covering our fear and shame and limiting beliefs, we get a little scared about doing it, because that for us is so intense when we're at that age, we don't want to feel it again. The reason that we don't speak, we have these fears, or that we don't fly, or whatever that is because we don't want to ever feel that emotion again. So our subconscious mind and every cell in our body is screaming at it, like has done everything throughout our whole life to make sure we don't have to feel it again. But what we want to do is go back and face it. So once you realize that, you go, okay, I'm going to release that now. Choose to release it. I go, okay, this is the 5-year-old version. I'm an adult now. I have a message. I have a voice. I have, what I have to say is going to change people's lives. So look at it from that perspective, and then be able to, see what that is, what you're choosing to be moving forward. And step number 4 is to move forward from this new thought paradigm. So let's say you go, okay, 5-year-old's releasing, I'm releasing my attachment to it. This is who I am moving forward. So describe who you are. I'm a confident speaker. I have a message that people want to hear. I change lives through being able to share my knowledge. Think about all these affirmations that describe who you are now, who the new version of you is, so that when you're doing your mind moving, your visualizations or your vision boards, you're actually seeing yourself already operating and acting from this new thought paradigm, from these new actions, from this new version of who you are. Because you're now from a place of emotional detachment, being able to decide who you are moving forward, and then create and design that new version of you, and then be able to move forward from there. Okay, so does that make sense? Let me just quickly go over those again. So step number 1 was to, we want to become the observer. So you want to emotionally detach and just look at the situation for what it is. So step 1 is then to acknowledge it, verbalize it, say it for what it is without any emotional attachment. Step number 2 is then become curious. Start asking questions. Why do I feel this? Where is this coming from? Did something happen to me when I was younger? What's behind this? So ask those questions and stay quiet long enough to be able to hear the answer. Step number 3 is to release your attachment to it. So go, okay, I realize that it's coming from this event. So this is really the 5-year-old version. This is 5-year-old fear. This is not 45-year-old fear. This is 5-year-old fear. And then step number 4 is to create the new version of who you are. That was little Bella having a scratch. Decide who the new version of you are, why you're emotionally detached. And then, each day visualize, see yourself moving forward and acting from this new thought paradigm so that you start to step into that new version of you. Okay, so let me say a few hellos while I'm here. Estelle, Harder, Estelle, love that. Love it, excellent. Debbie Mislov, Vera Grego, hi Vera. Stephanie Ramsey, yes. See, sometimes we just got the small little steps that we can do that really helps to release all of that. Now, I know I was mentioning before that one of the ways that fear and shame shows up, it often is in our body type or the way that we see ourselves. And, I have first-hand knowledge of this because all throughout my 30s, I really struggled because I had put on weight and it's a whole story of fear and shame that I've left behind me. So if you find that you're someone that also struggles with that, and I actually have a quiz. I know my team are going to put a little a link up here for you. So it's a weight loss quiz. So what it really does is helps us to hone into what's underneath it. Like we said, one of the steps is to become curious. Well, this quiz is going to help you figure out what is underneath it. Where is this coming from? What is the belief that you have underneath all the symptoms that are showing up in your life? And once we can do that, then we can help you release it as well. So make sure you click on the link when you get a moment and do my little, I think it takes 30 seconds. It's a very quick little quiz. Okay. And guys, that is it for me today. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend wherever you are. I know for some of us it's Friday night, and for all my Aussie friends and New Zealand friends it's Saturday morning. Have an amazing weekend. I hope you're surrounded by people that you love. And I look forward to coming to you again next week. So it'll be the 2:30, this time slot again, which seems to be the most popular, which is great, on Wednesday for me next week. So guys, thanks for joining me. Great weekend. Mwah, mwah. Bye for now.